widespread along that line, and this threat is going to remain rather isolated. Right now, by far and away, though, the strongest storm is near Iowa Falls at the moment. And the new report coming in, this tornado is continuing. It's maybe slowed up and has not moved as that hook is kind of drug along the backside of this for just a little bit. At 5:59, I guess this is 10 minutes ago, 5:59, there was a report that tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Iowa Falls. I'll go to the radar picture once again. Here is where that threat is going to be. We're looking east of Iowa Falls now at this point is where I think the greatest risk is, perhaps a secondary one around the Iowa Falls area. So continue to stay in your safe place as we will continue coverage here. Yeah, just more reports on social media of this tornado, some pictures coming through. Again, we'll work to see if we can get permission to share these with you at home, because sometimes the pictures tell the story just a little bit better. And yeah, certainly it is lofting some debris right here. And this looks like this is from north of Iowa Falls, another conical shaped tornado ongoing. So this one is still on the ground here. This whole storm is rotating at the moment as it moves through the Iowa Falls area. A lot of muddy shear signals coming in within that tornado warned area around Iowa Falls to Robertson and up near the state line, the county line towards Franklin County. At the moment. So severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning continues. Kind of have that hook morphing a little bit, is changed its stance a little bit, and initially it was about right here, was north of Iowa Falls, but now we've kind of absorbed that one and we're trying to recycle again back to the west of Iowa Falls. So you saw that transition there. I'm not seeing a huge velocity signal of a tornado, but there certainly is a couplet here just to the west of Iowa Falls. And if we got something rare going, it'd be cyclonic there to the east. But in all this green, that's where we could estimate some winds up to 60 miles per hour in there too, along with that hail up to 1 inch in diameter. In fact, we've gotten in a report now of near Geneva, so up here into eastern Franklin County, of ping pong ball sized hail. That report being brought to us by MPing. If you don't MPing, that's a way for you to send your reports and have them auto-populate on many radar sites across the nation. So continuing with a tornado warning as well further down to the south. A report of a funnel cloud in Bremer County. That's with a separate thunderstorm, but no doubt something we are going to watch. It looks like it's getting a little muddy here as I look at the scenario objectively, but there's still that hook and it's passing right over Iowa Falls. I do think that threat is kind of occluded and it's redeveloped further to the west. So we're looking right at the transition of these two tornado warnings at the moment is where I'm thinking that greatest risk is going to be. So Iowa Falls, stay in your safe places, kind of taken more of a southeasterly jaunt. And usually that's a sign of a very strong thunderstorm when it bites the updraft like that. So you see initially it was moving east and we had a cell merger. That storm from the north came in. Sometimes that can work to destroy the dynamics of that original thunderstorm. This time it looks like it's pushed into it and taken it further south. It's probably for the reason that original hook to be recycled in, but there's still a hook there around the Iowa Falls area, and I would say continue to stay in your safe place if you are in Iowa Falls. That's where I see the greatest danger showing up on the picture at the moment. Tornado has roped out via the National Weather Service in Des Moines, but that's not to say that the threat still isn't there. So we're going to continue to watch it. And as this one is continuing on through 7 o'clock, 7:15, this is for a observed tornado. Actually, this warning goes until 6:45. We have allowed the ones upstream to go by the wayside as we're now at 6:15. This tornado warning goes towards till 6:45 this evening. So anyone within that pink polygon needs to be seeking shelter. This is an observed tornado. Funnel cloud being reported, that is in Bremer County. They also have a tornado warned storm north of Waterloo. So a couple of really nasty looking thunderstorms at the moment on the radar picture in northern Iowa. Okay, we're continuing on here, tracking the situation for you very closely. We've been parsing social media and seeing some of these pictures. We're working to get the chance to share them with you, but it's been a scary looking sight up there into Hardin, Franklin County.
And the first glimpse that we got of that tornado, it looked like it was in a more rural area, but the unfortunate thing is, you mentioned there are some populated spots around that, so people do need to be on alert. A good time to have our app, have another source of information in case you lose power, you can't connect with us on the TV. But if you're in that area, we do urge everyone to stay safe, stay alert, get into your little safe spot. You know where that is in your home, hopefully, as interior as you can get in your house, and just don't take any chances with this. We're going to keep our eye on it as we always do here, but what we ask of you is to be safe. If you do take any photos of this, if you can take photos and you can take them safely, please don't go outside, but if you can take something safely, we would appreciate seeing what you're seeing on the ground, or just send us a message, news at weareiowa.com.
Maybe after the fact.
After the fact. Stay in your safe place.
Absolutely.
That's the number one here if you're in that area.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's first and foremost at the moment, is your safety. So I've been looking at a couple of products here while Stephanie was talking, and one of those being the debris. I'm not seeing any clear debris showing up here. I'm also going to go to the storm relative velocity because of the merger of those two storms. This one has really muddied up the velocity picture at the moment. Let me see if I can loop this for you here. Over the last 45 minutes, you can see those two storms colliding. I do think there's a pretty strong wind threat, especially southwest of Ackley at the moment. You can see that bullseye where we start to go into the blue colors there. This is going to be a signal where we're getting that wind north of 60 miles per hour, and you can just shave that minus sign off the front of that number. This is in absolutes. What we're looking at the data, it just means the direction in which it's going, 61 miles per hour, and there's a good chance that that is being translated down to the surface. We also have a hail threat in there too, and ping pong ball sized hail that was coming in near Geneva, and you can kind of see that sometimes you don't always get that bullseye, what the radar is saying where the hail actually falls. We have to keep in mind that the wind is always stirring about in these thunderstorms, and I'm only looking at one particular level that I've shown you all of this coverage long, and it's been fixed at the same time, at the same level. So that wind certainly can take the hail. It looks like that southerly wind is prevailing and maybe taking things a little bit further to the north, so watch out in Ackley for some rather large hail, and it looks like that Hook has really gone by the wayside. That is a good thing to see. We hope this weakening trend continues. I'm not quite convinced we can go away from the coverage just yet, given that this was a confirmed tornado, but struggling to find where that best couplet would be, perhaps starting to translate itself south of Iowa Falls a little bit, but ever since about this scan here, everything's gotten very muddy, and we're starting to really hone in on the updraft winning out, and the downdraft maybe not quite swinging around quite as strong out of this one. So that Hook is kind of washed away. Still tornado warning going to go until 6:45 for northeastern Hardin County. I do think that threat is out of Franklin County at this point. And this one moving to the south and east at about 20 miles per hour. Let me widen the base out on my cone and see if we can broaden out that threat, since that threat has gotten a little bit wider, or displaced, I should say, from the radar picture. I do think Eagle City, Steamboat Rock should be on high alert for this confirmed tornado. Confirmed reports of damage back near Popejoy, and this one reported on the ground north of Iowa Falls, but I since think that that threat has translated its way further south. New range of data coming in. There we have perhaps a slight little trying to hook out there south of Iowa Falls, and we'd be looking at this general area. Of course, there's a secondary one in there too. That wind is still going to be feeding up into the storm like that, out of the south and east, kind of curling about. One thing I want to do is I want to go over these reports that we've seen so far. So if you are in the warned area, continue to seek your safe place, and that's going to be your best course of action at this point. So we've seen hail, That hail threat up near Geneva that we heard, or actually south and west of Geneva, helps if I look at the mileage away from the community, not just the community itself. So it does align pretty well closely with that hail core that we are seeing on the radar picture. That tornado being reported near Iowa Falls and then northeast of Popejoy around 5:46. And this was lofting debris up in the sky at that point, and in its infancy at 5:25, right as we saw this storm go severe right before we got the official warning on it. There was a report of a rope tornado. This is a robust supercell, but it's about the only thing that we're watching, at least here locally in the We Are Iowa coverage area, and it's up near Iowa Falls at the moment. So definitely a strong hail signature in there. I'll go ahead and pop that up there and kind of overlay that area we'd be watching for that strongest hail, and indicating it's up to some big time levels in here, perhaps up to that ping pong ball size nature. And we do have that report coming in southwest of Ackley. So threat continues. We'll probably keep it here until we get better reports that this one is maybe starting to weaken, and maybe that tornado has lifted, but I don't want to say that at this point. There is an awful lot of lightning going on in this severe thunderstorm at the moment. And in the pink means observed. So whenever you see that on We Are Iowa, that means that tornado has been observed. Last report we had was closer to 6 o'clock, so it's been some time. And I don't want to say that this threat is completely gone or give you a false sense of security. But definitely things in the chat and what I've been following on social media has definitely toned it down a little bit. That's a good sign, but I'm not 100% convinced that this threat has completely gone away, because on the radar picture initially, when we were starting to get those initial tornado threats, tornado reports coming in, it was not the best looking storm at the same time either. So yes, we do have severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning for Hardin County at the moment. You can see there. Now we have turned to red, and so what that means is that this is radar indicated. And for simplicity for everyone in the booth, we're going to go ahead and keep it here for the duration of the Local 5 News at 6 o'clock. That way we don't have to try to crunch everything. And, you know, that's the best. The threat is out here right now, and we're going to continue to track it for you. So the update with that warning, that tornado warning, is that this storm is sped up a little bit, now moving at 30 miles per hour. It looks capable of producing a tornado, and that was near Steamboat Rock, or 7 miles north of Eldora. And we're kind of watching this northern edge, or excuse me, southern edge of the storm north of Eldora, north of Steamboat Rock. We'll see if we can get another one of those hooks to come back around. Haven't checked out the velocity seen for a while. Screaming signal of a rotating storm up in here, and some very strong winds south of Ackley, perhaps as much as 65 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and sample. And yeah, around 66 miles per hour with that wind. Keep in mind that's up in the storm, but also we have the strong heavy rain, so that helps translate it down to the ground. So extreme northeast, Hardin County, north of Steamboat Rock, moving towards Wellsburg, and eventually Grundy Center if this one holds, and this one is moving at about 30 miles per hour. So I'm going to put kind of a wider brush on things here. Moving to the south and east at 30 miles per hour. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to reset. Ignore those numbers as we move through and reset here. So this is moving down to the south and east at about 30 miles per hour. And some of those communities that are going to be impacted, you see, as we go through time. So hail signal, weak tornado signal at this point. I'm not seeing a big couplet out of this, but the area we would be watching is north of Eldora at this point, as this one's trying to come around. Big time wind signal out of this in northeastern Hardin County. So that pinpoint you see right there south of Ackley, and that wind rushing down is going to tend to curl around like this as it comes out of the thunderstorm. But underneath that heavy rain is certainly where it is at the moment. We're getting new updates coming in on the radar scan, the latest coming through. This has been a robust supercell, and it's kind of gone through a merger, and that's certainly taken a lot out of the equation here with that initial tornado warning. We haven't seen anything come through suggesting that this tornado is still on the ground, but we also haven't gotten complete confirmation that it's lifted up either. Sometimes we don't always get that confirmation when it does happen. Reports of damage back near Popejoy, east of Dow's, north of Iowa Falls. That one was reported still on the ground. No word on the extent of the damage with this one, but certainly something we'll watch. And what we're looking at in the shear here, north of Eldora, this is where you start to get into that strong rotating storm. It's not pinpointed, but there is certainly some rotation in there. What I'd be watching is especially down here as you get closer to Eldora. That would match up closely on the southern end of that line. So this is solidly within that storm. That storm is spinning, it's churning almost like an engine, and we have those strong wind gusts up there as well. So continuing to track the situation here as we go through the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. Again, this tornado warning does extend until 6:45, but we're getting very close to running out the extent of this tornado warning. We'll tell you with that storm up north of Waterloo, it's producing baseball-sized hail. So that is also going to be something we're watching, is very large hail. We've seen it here at We Are Iowa, that baseball-sized hail, and it can do a lot of damage. I believe that was just last summer that happened. So we're watching these hail cores in there. Anywhere you see that white is where we are going to be looking for that hail signal to come about. Stephanie, do you have anything to add?
Well, tornadoes obviously aren't the only reason we ask people to go inside and seek a safe place. You're talking about the hail, and we witnessed the power of that last year during the state fair. We lost almost every window in every car out there. You don't want to be stuck outside in hail. The strong wind too. I heard that there were sirens going off in Redland, and people
for good reason
advised to go inside. So strong wind will set those off too. So it's not just tornadoes that you need to take seriously.
Yeah, and do know that all sirens do not mean the same thing. It doesn't necessarily mean a tornado. It can mean strong damaging winds or just a general threat of severe weather. It means go inside and check in with your weather sources and see what the threat is. And again, those sirens intended for those outside to get that threat. Of course, cell phones now really going off have that We Are Iowa app in the palm of your hand. You can track the radar right along with us. We do have some strong wind signals showing up on the radar. I'm not seeing a huge threat for tornadoes at the moment, but there is a broad hook about this storm that we're going to watch. I'm going to keep it here until we get confirmed threat that this tornado is no longer going to be extended, or tornado warning, I should say. This new severe thunderstorm warning goes until 7:15. It does include Grundy County. It's a whole slew of counties. Butler, Hardin, Marshall, Tama, and Black Hawk County. So as we take a look at this one, it is given that threat of considerable damage being possible, and that is going to be for the wind threat, some hail in there too. Radar is suggesting up to 2-inch in diameter hail as this one moves down to the east and south and east with time. I'll put that hail back on there, and the cone, I'll broaden that out nice and wide for you, and we'll get a sense of this one moving to the south and east at about 30 miles per hour. Those in line to see it, Grundy Center, Wellsburg, and again, it's being warned for 2-inch in diameter hail. We have seen some ping pong ball sized hail in there. Did you have something to add, Stephanie?
I was just, I was thinking, what about those Ragbri riders? Unfortunately, it looks like this weather is north of where they are along their route. So at this point, if you're concerned about somebody who's on the Ragbri route right now, aside from the heat, it looks like the severe weather is missing them.
Yeah, and they're in Coralville tonight, if I remember correctly. So the threat is well away, about 75 miles or so, perhaps even more further to the south and east. Now, it is moving south and east, so that could be a threat in the end. I will say I'm seeing a little bit of a nook of concern that I would watch here northeast of Steamboat Rock. This is within that tornado warning at the moment, and right in that nook is where we find the threat that I would be watching to see a possible spin up. But getting into Grundy County, that is starting to push out of our local area, and so we'd hand that one off to the ABC affiliate KCRG out of Cedar Rapids. Some strong wind signal near Eldora. Please take note of that and take it seriously. This one likely going to be up near 65 miles per hour. We'll see if I can get a better sample and a better location out of this. But yeah, it's up near 60, 70 miles per hour estimated on that radar picture. Perhaps a smattering of some bad data in there too, but that is certainly something that we're watching. What brought us on air with you tonight was that report of a tornado. This was in Franklin County and then getting down right near the county line into Hardin County, north of Iowa Falls. And it's been all quiet on that front for just a little bit, about 20 minutes or so. So we hope we can keep that going for you. We're going to keep it right here until we get confirmation that this one is going to go away. So severe thunderstorm warning extends further to the south and east. And you do see it does continue to clip like Marshall and Tama County. This one getting into Tama County eventually with time. But that hook, I'd say a couple of areas to watch with this one, but no clear, obvious signals of rotation would be right in those 2 points. At this point. This was a picturesque tornado when it was on the ground. Still kind of showing that a threat could be there, but not quite as screaming of a signal as it was at any point, say, within the last half of an hour. Again, I don't want to give you that false sense of security, but I am analyzing the radar along with you, and I just want to pass along kind of what I'm looking at with you when I am looking at it. So you can kind of see that's in that area northeast of Eldora that I'd be watching for possibly a couplet trying to come into play. But this appears to me broad rotation, well within the thunderstorm and kind of the overall spin of the thunderstorm that goes along with it. So we're keeping it right here until we get confirmation that this tornado warning is going to go by the wayside, but bear in mind there is some significant hail threat in there too. This is a big signal, and the warning is for officially up to 2-inch diameter hail. I do think this may be a little underdone with that largest hail size that's splitting the area between Ackley and Eldora, pushing into Grundy County. So yeah, that's what we're watching is 1.25 inch in diameter hail. So that severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 7:15 is for really the big time hail threat, but there's also some wind that is in tandem with it too. This one is moving to the south and east with time at about 30 miles per hour. Again, it's kind of sped up now. Grundy Center will be in your area around 7 o'clock. And then eventually Traer as we approach 7:30, that's getting into northern Tama County. Right now this one is robust on the hail signal at the moment. I'm going to loop it and you can see how that hail core has really taken off, and it's really pulsed up and starting to maybe drop its hail into northeastern Hardin County at this point. That's a big signal for some hail going in there. Those hail tracks do extend back into Franklin County, but yeah, this is a big threat at the moment, as well as some strong wind that's in there between Eldora. You get up through Wellsburg. This would be the threat as it sits at the moment. So this tornado has a history of damage. We'll look in to see how extensive that damage is. No word on that at the moment, but I'm plotting those locations of where that tornado damage was. And you can see clearly this storm has taken a huge right-hand turn. What I mean by that is deviating more to the south than it was initially. You can kind of see that line of those reports going in there. And now we're talking more about down in here, where that storm is, some of those greatest risks, and it's moving more of a south and easterly line than it was before. Big hail, up to ping pong ball sized hail, and between Eldora and Wellsburg is where we're having a lot of some wind and hail at the moment. So with that, the severe thunderstorm warning does extend further to the south and east. That's probably one of the two strongest thunderstorms in the state. North of Waterloo is where another one is. And as we do kind of look at things stretching back to the west, there's a big gap in there. in the radar picture. And then we're way off towards Harlan, and this is out of our area to the west, but this one, again, you kind of see it's a lone supercell. It's in the free and clear, and it's able to chew up all that untapped atmosphere. We're hot, we're humid, and we have been so all day. That is a lot of thunderstorm fuel to work with for these thunderstorms. And anytime they take a little bit of a right-hand jaunt, that is when we start to be concerned with them growing very, very strong at the moment. Checking in on the velocity signal. Yeah, there's some strong wind in there, a bit of rotation being noted northeast of Eldora and Wellsburg, but this is on the broad scale, so that is certainly some good news. Here's the shear tracks, and you see it's closer to Wellsburg at the moment than not in Eldora, and translating its way to the south and east and getting into Grundy County. So we have not heard any word that this tornado warning is going to extend south and east. I'm going to keep it with you for now until we start to see these shear parameters drop off and maybe that hook go out, but the threat has been there. It was definitely more pronounced a little while ago as it was up into Franklin County. So inside that tornado warning especially, seek shelter in the basement. If you are out ahead inside the yellow polygon, that's where you definitely need to stay inside and stay away from windows. If we're talking about hail up to 2 inches in diameter, that can break out some windows in a big way. So that's the threats as we're seeing them right now. Additional funnel clouds up towards Waterloo, but that is sufficiently out of our area. Anything, Steph?
Yeah, you know, we do know that you might get some photos or some videos of this. We do not encourage you to go out in this weather, and we ask that you stay in until you can safely get out and survey damage or whatnot. But if you do have images that you would like to share with us, and the easiest way for us to get them is to text weather to the number you see on their screen, that is 515-457-1026. And of course, moments like this are just another reminder for you to brush up on your safety skills here. I mean, we have a graphic on the screen right now, but you know, the basement, the obvious choice there, or the smallest room in the interior of your house. Stay away from windows, try to cover yourself. Get to the lowest floor that you can possible. If you can get into a stairwell, if you don't have a basement, also a safe choice, but safety first in situations like this. And have a backup besides your television set in case you lose power. Our We Are Iowa app, we are always here for you 24/7 with whatever is happening in the weather, especially in moments like this where it is changing quickly and you might need to pivot your plans for the day. If you're in that yellow area, this is these people should be very alert of what's happening.
Yeah, and as we go back to the radar picture, I want to show you that the threat, the area that we would have for a tornado is moving out of the tornado warned area. So Wellsburg, seek shelter, please. And no confirmation that there is a tornado on the ground at this point, but certainly we are looking at the threat that has been there over the last hour. The tornado warning over Butler and Franklin County has been, let's see, canceled here. That is in the past, though. I'm trying to catch my bearings. Bear with me a second here, friends. We have certainly trimmed that up just a little bit. It looks like as this threat continues to push off into Grundy County. We'll stay with you for at least 5 more minutes here. And just processing that we've received a report of ping pong ball sized hail coming in. That has previously been reported, but now has been made official that that report has come through. Some reports that a tornado was on the ground in southern Franklin County, but no word of extent of the damage, but it was doing some damage up there, and that was north of Iowa Falls by about 4 miles. And a very picturesque tornado in there north of Iowa Falls as well. And that was right at the top of the 6 o'clock hour. So we've gone some time now without seeing a significant report coming through. But that threat, should it be there, is currently north and west of Grundy Center and continuing to push its way south and east with time. Just going to analyze the data here for you real quick. It does look like there is a signal for some rather strong winds northeast of Eldora, perhaps some bad data in there too, but as you you saw me back it up. It was a signal that this was kind of a local maximum on the velocity signal near Wellsburg as well. If we're watching for any spin, it's going to be right here south of town. So Grundy Center, you are in that severe thunderstorm warning. Do know that this is kind of the part of the storm that has a history of producing a tornado. And as it looks right now, compared to the past, as I go to the tracks of this year to what's currently showing up, it definitely does pale in comparison to the last couple of returns that were showing up. So looking at a more favorable scenario, but if we're watching for a tornado, it would be south of Wellsburg at the moment and moving south and east towards Grundy Center at about 30 miles per hour. So tracking things here. There's communities and the estimated times of arrival. I have a report coming in from Eldora that there are some small tree limbs coming down on the east side of town from thunderstorm winds. So we have that report to pass along to you. Stephanie, are we working on getting some of those pictures up that we can share?
I believe we do have a photo. We have permission. We're just working on getting it into our system that will show the tornado northwest, I believe, of Iowa Falls. So we're working on that right now behind the scenes, but they will have
from
that.
The booth.
Yes.
So that tornado warning has been trimmed up. I think the threat would be into western Grundy County right now, Grundy Center, Wellsburg area, in between the two. That's where the strongest signal of rotation is at the moment. And always tracking the debris, see if something can pop up, but I haven't seen anything on this. It's sampling rather high up in the atmosphere at this point. Given its location into northeastern Iowa. Nothing immediately potent for the Des Moines Metro at the moment, but we'll always watch. So far it appears northeastern Iowa has been kind of the target zone. We've been watching on Futurecast maybe where some of these storms may pop, and that has been the consistent signal this afternoon, this evening, that's where it'd be. Some large hail signal still in there as you move east of Iowa Falls, towards Wellsburg and Eldora, and now some reports of some wind damage in Eldora as well. So severe thunderstorm warning that continues further off to the east. We'll go ahead and put up the details on that until 7:15. Primarily centered on Grundy County, but as you do see, it does extend down into Marshall and Tama County too. That tornado warning is going to be expiring here as we go over the next couple of minutes. So I'm going to sum up the coverage here. We'll get you back to regular program. There is a tornado warning north of Waterloo as well that lasts until 7 o'clock. That one did have a report of a funnel along it. But this one supercell here, as we look around Grundy County, Grundy Center is where it is at right now. That's where we're looking at the threat for damaging wind and hail potential. This storm does have a history of that, and you can actually see it sending an outflow boundary out, and sometimes these boundaries can serve to trigger additional thunderstorms as they translate further to the south. And you can actually see that is happening as it does move southward. The additional development to the north and east of it as it pushes through. It's literally a wedge in the atmosphere trying to push up with time. So we are going to let this one go back to regular ABC programming. We'll have a recap on what has transpired here this evening coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. We promised you some of those pictures as well. We'll get those to you as well. Do know that this severe thunderstorm warning that is in place for the supercell lasts until 7:15. If we get a signal of significant damage coming out of it, we'll be here on Local 5 to keep you updated. For Stephanie, I'm Chris Kubal here in the Weather Center. Have a safe evening. We'll keep you updated.
Right.
Say that again? We got to do some recordings and stuff, don't we? Oh, sheesh. Thank you. Sorry for blowing out the 6.
Like I said, we're just kind of the top was filled.
Okay.
Unless you want to do some other one.
Just let me know what you need done, and I will help you out since we have a window of opportunity at the moment.
We have some cases in
We're just gonna do cases.
Okay.
Yeah, I may have to bounce on it. I'm not going to stay on long form for this storm, but if there's another tornado or something, I'm going to have to go back on. So just keep it up. Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, you can turn it off for these recordings or whatever.